Hey guys, how you doing? It's Coach Hesh here from G.O.E Hoops. Want to welcome you to episode 2 of Eagle Eye, which is a series that we dropped last week, teaming up with AusHoopers to bring you guys some film breakdown content. Episode 1, we looked at Taron Armstrong, who just finished his campaign with the Under-19 EMU squad over in Latvia. This week we're going to be looking at Jason Cadee, who's a Brisbane Bullets point guard, plays in the NBL, has played for a number of years there, and now he's playing in the NBL1 North for the Gold Coast Rollers, and he's put up some crazy numbers these last few weeks. So we're going to break that down, have a look at the strengths that he displays, and the various things that I think we can learn from one of the best point guards in the country. So let's get to it. We're going to break up Cadee's game into a variety of different facets to make it easy to follow. Firstly, we're going to look at his setup in the ball screen and how he rejects the ball screen. I think that's a big part of his game, and he keeps the defense honest that way. Then we're going to look at his change of speed with utilizing the ball screen. Then we're going to look at his ability to attack a drops coverage and the things that he does in that coverage. Then we're going to look at his overall vision and his passing. So let's get to the top of that list and start off with his ability to reject the screen and why that's such a big tool and how he does that so effectively. That as Cadee is coming down the floor, his team's setting up in what's called a horn set. This is when the two big guys are on either side of the elbow, getting ready to either set a ball screen, or you can get into it via pass entry by giving them the ball. But we can see his defender, Isaac White, points to Cadee's left. That's letting his big man know that this is the way that I'm forcing Cadee. In the time it takes Isaac White to change his stance and get ready to defend Cadee coming off that ball screen, Cadee uses his change of speed and gets downhill and splits the horns action straight down the middle and ends up with a straight line drive. Now, it's not the best defense out here, but it's a very good opportunistic play, and it shows that you have to be on point the entire time with a player like Cadee, and you can't fall asleep for a second. In this second clip right here, we can see it's in semi-transition. Cadee manages to get his defender backtracking with a little drag screener halfway, and what he does is, as he approaches the three-point line, he slows down just for a second, and then while his defender slows down, we can see Cadee's teammates coming over to set a double screen for him. He explodes back baseline, takes advantage of the fact that the help defense hasn't been established at all. Once again, another situation where Cadee reveals to us that you can't fall asleep on him and you have to be alert at all times. This third clip here, another semi-transition clip. Cadee sets up with a nice float dribble. His defender is trying to fight over the top of that screen, trying to cheat it and beat Cadee to the other side of the screen so he can do his work early. Cadee recognizes this, and halfway through his float dribble, he decides to explode right to left and pulls up for a three. Obviously, that's a tough shot to take from range, a rhythm pull-up, but Cadee's proven that he can make this type of shot throughout his whole career, and it's a high percentage look for him. And this fourth clip right here, this is in semi-transition once again. Cadee waits for the lane to open up as he's setting his man in the ball screen, and as they make a decision to defend it a certain type of way, he takes advantage of the fact that the baseline is open. He explodes to his left hand to the baseline, takes the hit, turns a corner and gets to the rim for a layup. We can see here that all four of those clips, Cadee didn't even use the ball screen. It was set up for him to come off the screen, and his big man was setting up his guard to come off screens. But what Cadee does really well is he recognizes the coverage and recognizes what his defender is doing and how he's going to be able to take advantage of it before he even uses the screen. Like I said, this entire series is called rejecting the ball screen, and that's something that all guards need to be able to do in their setup for when they're utilizing ball screens. The next component of Cadee's game that we're going to look at is his change of speed when he's setting up in the ball screen. We can see here that Cadee's walking the ball up, and he's messing around with his defender. His big man's shifting from right to left, trying to get some contact and trying to disrupt his defender as he's trying to get in stance. And what Cadee does really well is he comes to a complete stop, and he waits for his defender to change stance. As his defender changes stance and thinks he's stable and ready to now start playing D, Cadee suddenly explodes using his change of speed, right to left, gets downhill. His man gets clipped by the screen, and as he's getting downhill, he gets 2 feet in the paint and obviously gets off a really tough layup. But this is all predicated around his setup and his ability to change speed, come to a complete stop, and then explode again to get downhill and use the screen. In this next clip right here, we can see similar action where it's semi-transition and Cadee's toying with his man and then comes to a complete stop. As he comes to a stop, his big man does a really good thing and flips the screen, changes the angle of the screen, and it's timed perfectly with Cadee to explode right to left, and that gives him the perfect opportunity to get off that three ball again. Just as we spoke about, he shoots that rhythm three ball really well, especially when he's going from his right to left crossover. Seems to be a bit of a go-to shot for him. And once again, this is set up through his ability to change speeds in the setup of the ball screen. Waits for his defender to come to a complete stop, then he explodes right to left, gets off that shot. The next part of Cadee's game that we're going to look at is his ability to attack a drops coverage. This is essentially when the big man who's defending the ball screen drops off and allows a lot of space for the guard that's coming off the screen to eat into. And in these situations, the initial ball screen defender, who's the guard, is fighting over the top, trying to stay on Cadee's hip and not give him an easy jump shot as he comes off. We can see here in the first clip, Cadee uses the ball screen. And the thing to worry about here is his angle. As the big man is forced to come with Cadee as if he's going to get on the rim, that opens up a nice rolling angle for his big man. Cadee does just enough to commit the drops defender to slide with him, and as the timing of the pass is what's really impressive here. As the big man commits, it's timed perfectly that he leads his big man into a nice open gap to get off a nice floater. We can see here that in the second clip, same coverage, the same big man, but what Cadee does really well, he puts that big man in a position of indecision. He doesn't know whether to completely commit to Cadee like he did the previous time, or whether he's going to now play the big man and be prepared for that pocket pass. So in that indecision, what Cadee does really well is he recognizes that, turns the brakes on, and then immediately turns the jets on to get on the rim. So we can see from those first two clips, Cadee does a really good job engaging the drops defender. He really makes it tough for the defender to make a decision as to what he's going to do. And if that defender commits one way or the other, well, Cadee just does the opposite thing. And we saw that from those two clips that we just watched. Now in this third clip, we can see that it's the same coverage. It's an overs and a drops coverage. What Cadee does really well is he recognizes now that the big man is in a deep drops. There's a lot of space as Cadee comes off this ball screen to step into a jump shot right there. And he does a very good job setting up the ball screen and for his man to get clipped, that he can step into his right to left pull-up, just as we spoke about. And we can see that he comes to a nice stop on his inside foot, rises up into his jump shot in rhythm. And like I said, that's a tough shot for guards to make. But given the history and his track record, is a shot that Cadee will live with all game. So we can see that's the third option that he looks at. So we've looked at the pocket pass. Then we've looked at getting on the rim in the drops coverage. Now we've looked at pulling up out of the drops. And the fourth one right here, it's a different game, but the same coverage. Cadee, we can see here, is coming downhill on the drops with his defender on his back. And he does a really, really clever thing by holding his defender off by not letting him get back in front. We can see him back his hips into him, create contact, use what's called a holdout dribble, not let his man get back in front. And he just waits for that moment for the big man that was originally in the drops to commit. We can see here that he commits to the roll man, and Cadee times it perfectly where he uses the change of speed and just gets right on the rim for a layup. So those four clips there, we can see the same coverage on the ball screen that Cadee sees. And it's probably a coverage that he sees a lot of in the NBL as well. But his poise and his patience to make the right decision every time is what's really impressive. We've gone from a pocket pass to a layup, to a pull-up three, to a holdout dribble, to a layup. And we can see there, if you can add all that to your bag, you can become a pretty proficient pick-and-roll player. Now, the last part of Cadee's game that I want to touch on, we've already seen a little bit of it in the previous clips, but it's basically his vision and his ability to facilitate and pass the ball. We're going to just run through a variety of different clips right now where we can see Cadee's vision coming into play. On this first one, we can see baseline penetration where he draws two, comes to a nice stop, doesn't get flustered, stays stable enough, waits for his cutter to cut straight down the middle, and he throws a nice little drop-off pass. The timing and stability displayed here is what's really impressive. The second clip right here is off penetration. He draws help, and what he does really well is he kicks out to his teammate in rhythm. He doesn't get stuck with the ball, doesn't come to a stop, doesn't allow the help to hedge and then recover. He throws it in rhythm as the help is coming. He finds his man for an open shot. The third one right here is very similar, where he penetrates and he kicks out in rhythm to his shooter. And what Cadee does really well here is that he relocates. Once he gets rid of the ball, he doesn't stay in the paint and wait. He continues to drift out to that side of the floor, ends up in the corner, and then the man that he originally passed to takes a dribble and kicks back to Cadee for an open three. This next one here is in semi-transition. It's great timing, coming off the ball screen and recognizing that his man is sealing under the rim. We can see here that that's called a duck in, where the weak side big, instead of staying in the dunker spot, actually ducks in front of the help defense, which allows for an easy seal. Cadee recognizes this and throws a bullet for a seal and a layup. On this next one, we can see it's a ball screen read. We can see his patience and his poise to get in the paint and engage the defense and throw a nice little lead lob pass for his big man. And this last one right here, we can see him coming down in semi-transition, recognizes that the help defense turned their head. Cadee's teammate back cuts, and we can see a whip one-handed pass to hit him right on the chest for a layup. Now, all of those passes we've just witnessed are very different, require an elite amount of skill, and we can see Cadee's natural ability to facilitate is displayed here. He's able to see people in rhythm when they need to receive the ball, where they need to receive the ball, and then he's able to physically execute on seeing that as well. I don't believe these skills happen overnight. I don't think anybody's just born with them. It takes work and it takes a lot of time to be able to see all these things and to be able to execute all these things. But everything that we've seen today shows exactly why Cadee is one of the premier point guards in the country and why young guards growing up should be watching him to see what they can learn from his game tape. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. I know I sure did watching Cadee play in the NBL1 over the last few weeks. Really displayed his talents in being able to pass the ball, facilitate for his teammates, being able to play in gears, and he's shown his ability to be really proficient in the ball screen. Now you throw in a 3-ball off the catch and off the dribble, and it makes a pretty complete player on the offensive side of the floor. Now, as always, I'm looking forward to your comments, opinions, and any feedback you guys might have. Feel free to express them down below in the comments, and also drop some names of some players or recent performances that you've seen that you want to see broken down as well. As always, I look forward to reading that stuff, and I'll see you guys next week. Appreciate it.